The Iron Queen's Challenge. The crystalline spires of New Geneva gleamed in the morning sun as Commander Rhea Blackwood stood at attention before the Terran Defense Council. Her decorated uniform bore the scars of countless battles, each medal telling a story of humanity's relentless fight for survival in a universe that seemed determined to erase them. The Astrian delegation arrives in 3 hours, Commander, Admiral Santos announced, his weathered face grave. They've made it clear they consider this meeting a formality rather than a negotiation. Their technological superiority has made them overconfident. Rhea's jaw tightened, but she maintained her composure. At 38, she had earned her reputation as the Iron Queen through unwavering determination and brilliant tactical decisions that had saved countless human lives during the Proxima crisis. Now, facing an advanced civilization that viewed humanity as little more than clever primates, she needed every ounce of that strength. "Let them be overconfident," she replied, her voice steady. "It wouldn't be the first time someone underestimated us." The Astrian ship that descended through Earth's atmosphere was a masterpiece of engineering, its bioorganic hull shifting and flowing like liquid mercury. It landed with impossible grace in the diplomatic quarter, and from its seamless hull emerged a figure that made even Rhea pause. Nilith, the Astrian envoy, stood nearly 7 feet tall, her iridescent skin catching the light in ways that defied physics. Her eyes, containing swirling galaxies, fixed on Rhea with barely concealed disdain. "Commander Blackwood," she spoke, her voice carrying harmonics that seemed to vibrate through the air itself. "I trust you understand that this meeting is merely a courtesy. Your species' recent expansion has caught our attention." Rhea met those cosmic eyes without flinching. "A courtesy would imply goodwill, Ambassador Nilith. Your message to the Council made your position quite clear." A slight smile curved Nilith's luminescent lips. "Direct, aren't you?" "Yes, we have concerns about humanity's rapid technological advancement. Your species has a history of violence that makes your possession of faster-than-light travel troubling." "You mean we achieved in decades what took your civilization centuries?" Rhea couldn't keep the edge from her voice. "Perhaps that says more about your assumptions than our capabilities." The air between them crackled with tension as they walked toward the council chambers. Rhea noticed how Nilith's gaze lingered on the reconstruction efforts still visible in parts of the city, remnants of the Proxima crisis that humanity had survived against all odds. "Your victory against the Proxima swarm was unexpected," Nilith admitted. "Though hardly indicative of true advancement. One successful defense against a mindless biological threat doesn't qualify humanity for galactic citizenship." Before Rhea could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the complex. Emergency lights bathed the corridor in crimson as her comm unit crackled to life. "Commander." Multiple unknown signatures just appeared in orbit. "They're not Astrian, and they're not responding to hails." Rhea watched as Nilith's expression shifted from superiority to genuine concern as she presumably received similar information through whatever advanced systems the Astrians used. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across those cosmic eyes. "It seems, Ambassador," Rhea said, already moving toward the command center, "you'll get to witness humanity's capabilities firsthand. You're welcome to observe from safety, or you can join us in the Defense Command. Your choice." The look Nilith gave her was unreadable, but after a moment's hesitation, she fell into step beside Rhea. "Perhaps there is something to be learned here, Commander. Though I doubt it will change the fundamental equation." As they rushed toward what would become either humanity's greatest triumph or its darkest hour, Rhea allowed herself a grim smile. One way or another, she would show this arrogant envoy exactly what humans were capable of when pushed to their limits. The real question was whether Nilith would survive the lesson. Beneath the surface, the command center erupted into controlled chaos as Rhea and Nilith entered. Holographic displays showed 12 unknown vessels in attack formation, their design unlike anything in either human or Astrian databases. "Status report," Rhea commanded, her voice cutting through the tension. Lieutenant Marcus Rivers, her tactical officer, responded without taking his eyes off his console. Ships appeared simultaneously through some kind of spatial anomaly, Commander. Energy signatures are off the charts, but they're running dark, no communications, no identification signals. Nilith moved to one of the sensor displays, her luminescent fingers dancing through the holographic data. Impossible, she whispered. These energy patterns, they match the legends of the Void Harbingers. Care to share with the class, Ambassador? Rhea's tone was sharp but controlled. They were thought to be myths, Nilith explained, her cosmic eyes wide. A race of beings that supposedly predated even the Astrians. They were said to harvest entire civilizations for their consciousness, leaving only empty husks behind. The ships above began to move, spreading out in a pattern that Rhea recognized immediately. They're setting up for a planetary containment grid. Standard divide and conquer tactics. She turned to her communications officer. Get me a channel to every military installation on Earth, now. As the officer complied, Nilith watched with growing fascination as Rhea began orchestrating Earth's defenses. The human commander's orders were precise, efficient, and demonstrated a tactical awareness that the Astrian had not expected from a primitive species. Your orbital defense platforms are pathetically outdated, Nilith observed, though her tone held more curiosity than contempt now. They won't last 5 minutes against technology of this level. Rhea's lips curved into a knowing smile. Those platforms aren't meant to last, Ambassador. They're meant to distract. She turned to Rivers. Initiate Protocol Shadowbox. Suddenly, the outdated defense platforms began emitting complex electromagnetic patterns, creating a web of intersecting fields that seemed to confuse the alien vessel's sensors. As the ships adjusted their approach, new signatures appeared on the tactical display, Earth's true defensive fleet, emerging from hidden positions behind the moon. Clever, Nilith admitted. Though it won't be enough. Those ships. Her words were cut off as the command center's lights flickered. A deep, resonating hum filled the air, and every screen in the facility went dark. When they came back online, a single message scrolled across them in ancient Astrian script. Nilith's translation came in a whisper, "The harvest begins." The alien ships launched their first attack, but instead of traditional weapons, they released waves of dark energy that seemed to drain the life from everything they touched. The few human vessels caught in the initial barrage went silent, their crews slumping at their stations as something essential was torn from them. Ambassador, Rhea's voice was steel, I need everything you know about these harbingers. Now. For a moment, Nilith hesitated, centuries of ingrained superiority warring with the urgent reality before her. The legends speak of their weakness to certain quantum frequencies. But the calculations required to determine the exact resonance would take days, even with Astrian computing power. Rhea turned to a quiet figure who had been working silently in the corner of the command center. Dr. Patel, what do you think? The quantum physicist looked up from her tablet, her eyes bright with realization. Commander, the human brain processes quantum information differently than AI systems. If we network enough human minds together through the neural interface system, we could brute force the calculations through parallel human consciousness, Nilith finished, genuine astonishment in her voice. But the neural load would be devastating. You'd be risking permanent brain damage to everyone involved. Rhea was already removing her command jacket. How many minds do you need, Doctor? At least 50, all working in perfect sync. You'll have them in 10 minutes. Rhea activated her comm, this is Commander Blackwood. I need every officer with neural interface training to report to the quantum lab immediately. This is a volunteer mission only. Survival not guaranteed. The responses came flooding in instantly. Not 50 volunteers, hundreds. From all over the base, humans rushed to offer their minds to the effort, knowing full well it might destroy them. Nilith watched in stunned silence as Rhea organized the volunteers, her efficiency never wavering despite the stakes. You would risk your consciousness, your very essence, on an untested theory? Rhea met those cosmic eyes as medical technicians began attaching neural interfaces to her temples. This is what you've never understood about humanity, Ambassador. We don't need certainty. We need only a fighting chance. As the neural network powered up and the first waves of quantum data began flooding through their linked minds, Rhea caught one last glimpse of Nilith's expression. For the first time, the contempt was gone, replaced by something that looked remarkably like hope. Trial by fire. The quantum lab hummed with the combined mental energy of 50 human minds working in perfect synchronization. Sweat beaded on Rhea's forehead as she fought to maintain her focus through the overwhelming flood of calculations. Each second felt like an eternity as their consciousness merged into a singular purpose, searching for the frequency that could stop the void harbingers. Dr. Patel monitored their vital signs, her face growing increasingly concerned. Brain temperature is reaching critical levels. We need to find the resonance soon, or we'll start losing people. Nilith stood at the main control panel, her iridescent fingers moving rapidly across the displays as she integrated the human calculations with Astrian theoretical models. The sight of 50 humans willingly risking their minds to save not just their own world, but potentially her civilization as well, had shaken her to her core. "Commander," she called out, her voice carrying unusual urgency, "your people are approaching neural breakdown. You must stop." "Not yet," Rhea ground out through clenched teeth. In the linked consciousness, she could feel the others' pain, their determination, their unwavering resolve. "We're close. I can feel it." Through their shared mental space, patterns began to emerge. The Void Harbinger's energy signature wasn't random, it pulsed with a rhythm, a cosmic heartbeat that seemed somehow familiar. Lieutenant Rivers, his consciousness brushing against Rhea's, made the connection first. "It matches the background radiation of the Big Bang," he projected into their shared mind space. "They're not just ancient, they're from the beginning of everything." The realization cascaded through the linked minds, each human consciousness adding to the insight. The Harbingers weren't harvesting consciousness, they were trying to return it to its primordial state, undoing billions of years of evolution and growth. "Got it." Dr. Patel's triumphant cry broke through their concentration. "The resonance frequency, it's the inverse of the cosmic background radiation." Rhea forced her eyes open, fighting through the searing pain in her skull. "Transmit the frequency to all Earth defense platforms. Now." But Nilith was already shaking her head. "The platforms don't have enough power to generate a field that strong. Even the Astrian ship couldn't produce." "Then we'll give them more power," Rhea interrupted, struggling to her feet as medical technicians began disconnecting neural interfaces from the other volunteers. Several were unconscious, others bleeding from their noses, but all were alive. "Lieutenant Rivers, contact every power station on the planet. Tell them to prepare for a full network override." Understanding dawned in Nilith's cosmic eyes. "You're going to channel your entire planetary power grid through the defense platforms? The feedback alone could destroy your civilization's infrastructure. Better than having our consciousness harvested." Rhea managed a weak smile. "Unless you have a better idea?" For a moment, Nilith stood silent, internal conflict visible on her ethereal features. Then she straightened, decision made. "The Astrian ship's quantum core, it could act as an amplifier for your power grid. But linking our technologies would violate dozens of Astrian protocols. I would be breaking laws that have stood for millennia." "Welcome to humanity's way of doing things," Rhea replied, her grin growing stronger despite the pounding in her head. "Sometimes you have to break things to save them." The next hour was a blur of activity as human and Astrian engineers worked frantically to integrate their technologies. Above them, the Void Harbingers continued their approach, their energy weapons reaching deeper into Earth's atmosphere with each passing minute. When the final connections were made, Rhea stood at the master control station, Nilith at her side. The Astrian's presence was different now, less aloof, more focused. They had seen each other's true nature in the crucible of crisis, and neither would ever be the same. Ready for power transfer, Rivers reported from his station. All Earth's major power grids are linked and standing by. Astrian quantum core is synchronized, Nilith added. Though I feel compelled to note once more that this has never been attempted in the history of either of our species. Rhea's hand hovered over the activation control. Then let's make some history. All stations, commence power transfer on my mark. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of Earth's future in this moment. 3, 2, 1. Mark. The combined power of human and Astrian technology surged through the orbital defense platforms. The resonance frequency, born from human minds and amplified by Astrian engineering, burst forth in a wave of quantum energy that lit up the sky like a second sun. The effect on the Void Harbingers was immediate and catastrophic. Their ships began to lose cohesion, ancient matter unable to maintain stability in the face of the quantum disruption. One by one, they dissolved into clouds of primordial energy, their consciousness-draining weapons dissipating harmlessly into space. On the surface, power grids across Earth overloaded and failed. Cities went dark, communication systems crashed, and the very ground trembled with the backlash of energy. But humanity endured, as they always had. In the dim emergency lighting of the command center, Rhea turned to find Nilith staring at her with an expression that could only be described as wonderment. "You did it," the Astrian whispered. "You actually did it. With primitive technology, improvised solutions, and sheer determination, you defeated a threat that my people dismissed as mere legend." "We did it," Rhea corrected her, emphasizing the joint nature of their victory. "Though I have to ask, was it worth breaking all those Astrian protocols?" A small smile played across Nilith's luminescent features. "Perhaps it's time for some of our protocols to be broken. Your species has shown me that progress often requires challenging established wisdom." She paused, her cosmic eyes studying Rhea intently. "Though this victory has come at a great cost to your infrastructure. We'll rebuild," Rhea said with quiet confidence. "That's another thing humans are good at. The question is, will the Astrians help us this time, or continue to watch from a distance?" Breaking points. The weeks following the Void Harbinger's defeat brought unprecedented change to both human and Astrian societies. As Earth's cities slowly regained power, Nilith found herself facing intense scrutiny from the Astrian High Council for her decision to share their technology with humans. "You stand accused of violating our most sacred protocols," First Speaker Thalios announced, his holographic form towering over both Nilith and Rhea in the makeshift conference room. The humans' victory, while impressive, does not justify such reckless sharing of advanced technology. Rhea watched as Nilith stood her ground, noting how the Astrian ambassador's posture had changed since their first meeting. Gone was the condescending tilt of her head, replaced by a warrior's stance that seemed almost human. "With respect, First Speaker," Nilith responded, "our protocols nearly cost us everything. The Void Harbingers weren't just targeting Earth, they were a threat to all conscious life. Without human ingenuity and willingness to sacrifice, we would still be debating the proper response while civilizations fell." Before Thalios could respond, alarms blared through the facility. Lieutenant Rivers burst into the room, his face ashen. "Commander, we're detecting quantum disturbances identical to the Harbinger signatures. But they're everywhere." The tactical display showed dozens of ruptures forming in space around Earth, each pulsing with the same primordial energy they had faced before. But this time, something was different. The ruptures weren't just threatening Earth, similar reports were coming in from Astrian space. "Impossible," Thalios whispered, his holographic form flickering with agitation. "Our homeworld's defenses are impenetrable." "Evidently not," Rhea replied grimly. This isn't a random attack anymore. They're retaliating for what we did to their first wave. She turned to Nilith. The quantum resonance we used, could we modify it to seal these ruptures? In theory, yes, Nilith said, her fingers already dancing through calculations in the air. But the power requirements would be exponentially greater. We'd need every functioning power source on Earth and in Astrian space, all perfectly synchronized. Which would require full sharing of Astrian technology with humans, Thalios interjected, his tone sharp. Absolutely out of the question. Rhea stepped forward, her patience finally breaking. With all due respect, first speaker, your questions are irrelevant. In the time we've spent arguing protocols, 3 more ruptures have formed. We don't have the luxury of maintaining your technological superiority anymore. The command center fell silent as humans and Astrians alike waited for Thalios's response. The fate of both civilizations hung in the balance, trapped between ancient laws and immediate necessity. Finally, Nilith broke the silence. First speaker, I formally request emergency override of Protocol 7. Gasps echoed from the Astrian side of the transmission. Protocol 7 was the foundation of their civilization's approach to lesser species, never to share the full scope of their advancement. On what grounds? Thalios demanded. On the grounds that these lesser beings have proven themselves to be our equals, Nilith declared, her voice ringing with conviction. Not in technology or longevity, but in courage, innovation, and the strength of their consciousness. The Void Harbingers chose to attack Earth first not because humans were weak, but because they recognized the potential humanity represents. As if to punctuate her words, another alarm sounded. The ruptures were beginning to affect Earth's magnetic field, causing widespread communications failures and atmospheric disturbances. We need to decide now, Rhea urged, watching as her planet's defense systems began to fail one by one. Either we work together as equals, or we fall separately clinging to old prejudices. Thalios's hologram flickered again, his ancient eyes moving from Nilith to Rhea and back. The consequences of this decision will echo through millennia, Ambassador Nilith. Are you prepared to bear that responsibility? I am, Nilith replied without hesitation. As are the humans who have already proven they will risk everything to save not just their own world, but all of conscious creation. After what seemed like an eternity, Thalios nodded. Protocol 7 is suspended. Commander Blackwood, you have the full resources of the Astrian civilization at your disposal. Do not make us regret this decision. As the hologram faded, Rhea turned to Nilith. Well, that's a first. An alien civilization actually choosing to help instead of just observing from a safe distance. Perhaps we needed someone to show us that safe distances are an illusion, Nilith replied, a hint of her old smile returning. Though I warn you, some of our technology may be overwhelming for human minds to comprehend. Try us, Rhea challenged, already moving toward the tactical station. You might find we're full of surprises. Rising together. The integration of human and Astrian technology progressed at a pace that would have seemed impossible mere weeks ago. In labs across Earth, human scientists worked alongside Astrian engineers, their combined knowledge creating innovations that neither civilization could have achieved alone. Dr. Patel stood before a quantum interface that pulsed with otherworldly energy, her eyes bright with excitement as she explained their breakthrough to Rhea and Nilith. The human capacity for lateral thinking combined with Astrian quantum theory, it's revolutionary. We're not just sealing the ruptures anymore. We're learning to predict how they'll form. And not a moment too soon, Rhea observed, studying the global tactical display. The ruptures had grown more numerous, but for the first time, they had a real chance of getting ahead of the crisis. Nilith, who had become a constant presence at Rhea's side, added, "What truly fascinates me is how quickly your people adapted to our technology. Concepts that took Astrian children decades to grasp, your scientists are mastering in weeks." Necessity is a powerful teacher, Rhea replied, but there was pride in her voice. Though I have to admit, some of your quantum mechanics still give me a headache. Their conversation was interrupted by Lieutenant Rivers rushing into the command center. Commander, we've detected something inside the largest rupture. It's a message. The main screen filled with pulsing patterns of light that somehow carried meaning beyond normal language. Nyletha's eyes widened as she translated. They're not just void harbingers. They're what remains of the universe's first conscious beings. They've been trying to restore everything to its original state of pure consciousness. Why now? Rhea asked, watching as more ruptures appeared on the display. Why target us specifically? Because of you, humanity, Nyleth realized, her voice filled with awe. Your species evolved so quickly, achieved so much in such a short time. You represent a new path of consciousness, one they never imagined possible. They fear what you might become. Before Rhea could respond, the largest rupture began to expand exponentially. Through it, they could see something vast and incomprehensible, a being of pure quantum energy, ancient beyond measure. All stations, battle positions, Rhea commanded, but Nyleth caught her arm. No, the Astrian said softly. This isn't a battle we can win with weapons. They're not trying to destroy consciousness, they're trying to understand how it could take a form so different from their own. Rhea looked at her former adversary, now trusted friend, and made a decision that would change the course of history. Dr. Patel, what if we reverse the quantum interface? Instead of blocking them out, we show them who we are. You want to send human consciousness through the rupture? Patel asked, already making calculations. It would take thousands of minds, all linked like before, but amplified by Astrian technology. Not just human consciousness, Nyleth interjected. All of us. Humans, Astrians, every spacefaring race we can contact. Show them that consciousness isn't meant to remain static, it's meant to grow, change, and combine in beautiful new ways. The next hours were a blur of preparation as volunteers from both civilizations came forward. The neural interface chamber, now enhanced with Astrian quantum technology, hummed with potential as hundreds of minds prepared to link together. Rhea and Nyleth stood side by side before the assembled volunteers, their differences forgotten in the face of this ultimate challenge. What we're attempting has never been done, Rhea addressed the crowd. We're going to show beings from the dawn of time that the best path forward isn't back to the beginning, it's towards something new that we create together. As the neural links activated and consciousness began to merge, Rhea felt Nyletha's mind brush against her own. In that touch was understanding, respect, and something more, a deep appreciation for how wrong she had been about humanity's potential. The combined consciousness of two civilizations reached out through the rupture, carrying with it all their hopes, dreams, fears, and achievements. They showed the ancient beings their art, their music, their love of discovery and creation. They shared their struggles and triumphs, their ability to grow stronger through adversity. And slowly, wonderfully, the ancient consciousness responded. The ruptures began to close, not from force but from understanding. The void harbingers had found what they were looking for, proof that consciousness could evolve into something even more beautiful than its original form. In the aftermath, as Earth's skies cleared and the last traces of quantum disturbance faded, Rhea found Nyleth standing at a window, watching the sunrise. You know, the Astrian said without turning, when I first came to Earth, I thought I was here to judge whether humanity was ready for the stars. I never imagined that humanity would teach us what the stars were truly for. Rhea joined her at the window. And what are they for, in your newly enlightened opinion? For reaching beyond ourselves. For finding new ways to grow, to connect, to become more than we are. Nyleth turned to face her friend. Your species took centuries of Astrian certainty and turned it on its head in a matter of weeks. Imagine what we'll achieve in the centuries to come. Together, Rhea added, extending her hand. Nyleth took it without hesitation, her cosmic eyes shining with possibilities. Together, she agreed. Though I warn you, some of the more conservative members of the High Council may need time to adjust to this new reality. Let them take all the time they need, Ria laughed. We've got a universe of possibilities to explore, and if there's one thing humans are good at, it's helping others catch up to new ideas. As they stood there, watching Earth's sun paint the sky in colors that seemed brighter somehow, both knew that this was just the beginning. Humanity had not just proved itself worthy of the stars, it had shown a path to something greater than either civilization had imagined possible. And somewhere, in the quantum fabric of space-time, the first conscious beings watched with newfound wonder as their youngest children took their first steps toward a future filled with infinite potential.